Pledge allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call, please.
Okay, Horn.
Here.
Kill.
Here.
Bowen.
Here.
Behrens. Mattson. Here. Mayor Jones is absent with notice. And did Jake say anything at the last
He
meeting?
told me, when I talked to him today, he said he was gonna be here.
Okay, I have not heard anything
I
from
don't
him,
have my
so.
phone on me, I'll let that text.
I just remembered. Okay, all right.
Quorum approved minutes of previous meeting, or regular meeting minutes from 8/20 of 2024.
Make a motion to approve previous meeting minutes.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Special budget meeting minutes from
Agenda.
8/26/2024.
Do you wanna go back and approve the agenda?
What on
He
this?
said second for the agenda.
Sorry. So I need a motion to approve the agenda for the evening.
Motion to approve agendas for the
Second.
evening.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right, now moving to our special budget meeting minutes from 8/26. There's a motion to approve.
Motion to approve.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right. Approved bills submitted for payment.
There are.
There are-
That's just
Checks
payroll,
I
yeah.
signed, so we're good to go there. Public input on non-agenda items, we don't have anybody in the audience. I don't imagine you guys have anything to add.
Gonna have public.
Like,
If they stand up and go over to the podium. All right, applications, agreements, hearings, resolutions, and ordinances. Our special event, we have the West Central Homecoming Parade, which is scheduled for September 20th, 2024. That request is in our packet.
Make a motion to approve the special event application for the West Central Homecoming Parade.
Second.
Any discussion?
2 to 3, that's usually pretty good, isn't it? I think it's over in
That's
half.
normally what they have, yeah.
Mattson?
Yes.
Bowen?
Yes.
Warren?
Yes.
Barrett?
Yep.
And I'm a yes. Special event, request to close 9th Street for Class A State Golf, October 7th and 8th, 2024. This is the gravel road between Van Mark and part of T. Hasn't been closed for a while, but it's not on now, I guess.
Yeah, I was working with the city on the, or the school on this one. And they just looking to close that time, just so there's a ton of spectators. They might be walking down the street. or something like that. I don't know if we need to close it in 48 hours, but I don't know how much Craig wants to go up there and take signs down and stuff.
They used to have their own barricades and just block
Oh,
off.
did they? Okay.
I don't know if they still do or not, so the bank's not there.
There's something we can.
Well, it says 7 AM to 5 PM each day, so it's not
Oh, it does.
overnight. so.
Okay, they got it. Okay.
Yeah, that's what they put on their application, so.
Yeah. And I'm the one that turned that in, so I should know that.
Any further discussion?
So who's putting barricades up?
I will check with the golf course and see if they're gonna take care of that.
Sounds like a good idea.
They've done it in the past when they've closed it, so like I said, I think they've got barricades up there. so. Check.
Make a motion to approve the special event application to close 9th Street for Class A golf.
Second.
Any further discussion? Chaz?
Yes.
Barrett?
Yes.
Horn?
Yes.
Bowen?
Yes.
Mattson?
Yes.
And I'm a yes. All right, next up we have our public hearing, amendments to the city's design standards and supplemental specifications.
The Planning and Zoning Board has been working on these. Every few years, we have our engineers go through it with staff and see if there's anything we need to update or change, just because things change, you know, with construction, different standards come into place, so ISG did review them. They have been presented to the Planning and Zoning Board. They've approved them. Right now, since it's the first time you guys are seeing them, and they're quite extensive, I just wanna have Michael go through them with you, answer any questions you may have, let you think about it for a couple more weeks, and then we'll put them on the next agenda. But he can kind of walk you through and, like I said, answer any questions. They'll probably just take you through the summary and go from there.
Yep. Yeah, as Teresa mentioned, there is a summary of the proposed changes in front of you, as well as the full documents following that, just so you can see how it compares to the items around it and affects the overall document. The subdivision regulations rather are not included in these changes, just because the P&Z board is still working through that parkland dedication portion. So this will just be the design standards, supplemental specifications, and then 2 new proposed sections. These are just standard notes, standard construction notes, and these special provisions. What I'll do is I'll just go through each item, just quick summary, and if you have any questions on it, feel free to stop me and we can discuss. So starting with the first one, section 441, revising that definition of flow from sanitary sewers. Originally it was the full design capacity was the full flow pipe, whereas this is revising it to be a lesser portion of the pipe flow, just to allow for some additional capacity and redundancy as the city continues to grow. The second item, 4-4-5, pertaining to straight alignments between manholes. We have not run into a scenario yet that would require curvilinear alignment, and have been requiring straight alignments between manholes, and that is just to help assist cleaning as well as locating those sewers. 4.7.5, just requiring sanitary sewer service stubs to be extended 10 feet past the right-of-way line. 4.11.1, adding manholes in the floodplain shall have bolt-down lids. Another one of the ones we've been requiring, but just didn't have with the design standards. 5.5.7, relocate that section to the new special provisions section. That one is pertaining to jacking and boring and non-destructive methods of installing pipe under railways, highways, all of that. 5.5.8, adding a new section for phased water mains, requiring that mains installed may be, that mains shown on the preliminary plan and phasing may be required to be installed prior to the anticipated phase, just to provide looping and redundancy, just so that you don't have an excess of homes on a dead-end main, which is something that is limited in another section of that water main chapter. 5.6.5, in phase developments, hydrants or blow-offs shall also be located at intermediate dead ends due to phasing boundaries. This is just addition to what I just touched on those phasing boundaries. 5.7.1, just providing additional clarity for isolation valves, indicating that 2 are going to be needed at each T, and minimum of 3 at each cross. This just assists the city for, if there is a water main break or flushing, it just helps isolate that portion to a lesser section of roadway and provides lesser disturbance to those people along that main. 5.8.1, requiring that non-conductive service materials such as plastic or HDPE or PEXA pipe have tracer wire, just so it can be located if it is not in a straight alignment off of the main to the curb stop. 5.8.4, requiring that all curb stops within a walkable path, which is a sidewalk, or paved area within the right-of-way be located under a valve casting. This just goes to further meet ADA requirements. Most developments are not going to see this being an issue. It's more for the infills and, say, downtown, where curb stops are in that traveled path, don't want to create a disturbance for any disabled users. 6.5, stating that the minimum time of concentration of calculations is 6 minutes. Typically, a lower time of concentration results in a higher peak flow, which leads to more conservative designs, and ultimately protects people adjacent to where ponds or developments are going in to ensure that they don't have lesser frequency of flooding. 6.7.3, revising that storm sewer minimum slope to 0.4%, partly due to constructability, but also due to cleaning velocities, just as the storm sewer does collect a lot of debris, making sure that when they flow, they do self-clean. 6.8.1.4, revising the storm sewer section to require all junction box covers to be floating castings. Last time around, we had stated that manhole covers on sanitary manholes need to be floating. I just wanted to maintain consistency between the storm and sanitary sections. 6.11.3 pond overflows, making sure that those are routed to the same location as the standard discharge, to keep that water going to the same place, not having unexpected discharges where there hadn't previously been. 8.2.1, added in the city's community development plan to the list of documents that the developer should be familiar with. It is on the city's website and it's something the city paid for, so be unwise to not use it in reviewing developments. 8.7.3 and 8.7.4. This is one that has come up recently, slightly modifying how water main looping and vehicle access is evaluated. Previously, it was a secondary access, and water main looping is required in an area or phase of serving 30 lots on a single gate or single entrance. What we are proposing to do is revise that to 90 housing units. It'll still work out to the same 30 single-family lots, but then it also provides that clarification for townhomes as well as apartments, where a single-family lot is, call it 3 housing units, duplex is 2, and an apartment is 1 housing unit, just so that that those properties are not cut off from any water sewer should there be an emergency, and they have a secondary form of access. 9.2.7, just requiring that the park space allocation be shown on the preliminary subdivision plan and explicitly called out. 9.3, adding a phasing submittal to engineering plans and preliminary plans, just so we can review that water main and access. 9.5.3.2, adding the city Hartford standard notes for construction, just adding these to all construction documents submitted to the city, and what they are is a collection of expectations for the development, as well as contact information for us for testing and reviews, as well as those expectations on testing and pass-fail criteria, just so it's right on the plans and it's explicitly stated. Moving on to the supplemental specifications, removing the television inspection section. Previously, it stated the city would come televise, however, the city does not have televising equipment, so we're proposing to remove that section. 104.35.5, revising the casing spacers and end seals to be included within the casing pipe cost. It is not explicitly stated, that is typically how it is paid for in the region, so I just wanted to make that clear. Next up is sanitary sewer tracer wire and terminal boxes, similar to the previous one, just explicitly stating that these are incidental to the price for that main, to align with the watering materials, as they are very similar, or usually the same type of pipe material. Storm sewer junction boxes and castings, repeating what we have in the design standards that require exploded castings on storm sewer structures. 302.2.1, water main fittings, allowing these AWWA C153 fittings. This is one that we've used on a few previous products. They meet the same spec as the longer fittings, but are smaller and cheaper. 304.8.1, just making sure that it's just stated that tracer wire boxes and accessories are incidental to the pipe. In all specification sections for sanitary storm and water, just removing that trenchless construction aspect, just so it can be placed in that sole special provisions document, so it's saved in the single spot. It's one spot to go to, and there's not varying requirements between section. And as for the proposed standards at this time, that is what we have. If there are any questions, it's a lot, I know.
It's riveting stuff, thank you.
A lot of this stuff has been in place in our policies, we just haven't had it in the design standards. We've been working with tracer wire and different things like that for quite a few years.
Reading through this a little bit, sounds like we bolt castings down in a floodplain on a manhole, but then don't when they're on paved streets.
You don't need to. Floodplains, if they would surcharge, they'd float that off, and then that takes in all the water, so.
Gotcha,
And
okay.
then you're treating a bunch of
And the paved ones, we want floating castings there?
Yeah, so so traditional castings are two-piece. You have the frame that sits on the manhole and the lid. Whereas these floating castings are three pieces. You have the portion that sits on the manhole cone, and then you have a section inner that can slide up and down with the pavement, and then the flat lid on top. And so what that allows is there are notches on that casting that basically are embedded in the pavement that allow it, as winter comes and freeze thaw heaves and all that, it moves with it, and then you have lesser effect of those frost heaves in the winter.
Okay, so floating within the casting, it's not the water rising, it doesn't float away. Okay,
Correct.
that's what I was
That's what I was
confused a
The
little
lid
bit. I
comes off,
Yeah,
never heard of that.
that'd be bad.
it would be very bad.
Well, not understanding.
But to your point about the bolted down manhole cover, I mean, that's a possibility in a floodplain, right? If that water comes up from the bottom, that cover could be,
Yeah,
you have
or
a safety hazard there where someone could walk in and fall in and drive through it, not knowing it's there because it's under the water. Is that fair?
correct, yeah. But like Craig said, if you get too much water in the pipe and it exceeds where the stream, then it'll actually pop the cover off. But then if the flood waters rise above that casting, there's actually been instances where it'll float that casting off, you know, it's a couple hundred pounds, and then you have a bunch of stream water going in there, and like Craig was dealing with when it flooded earlier this year, it's already developed. So just making sure.
Just out of curiosity with these design, or with what we're going through, do we have to go through and change a lot of covers then with this? Like if we implement these?
This will start when this gets adopted. So we won't go back and change anything, but as we move forward, if a
Okay.
new developer comes in, they'd have to adhere to the new standards
Okay.
and whatnot. And so would we, I mean, it would, once they're adopted, anything going forward would have to
Okay.
comply with it.
Any other discussion about the amendment to the city's design standards and supplemental specifications? If not, I'd entertain a motion to approve.
Motion to approve the amendments to the city's design standard and supplemental specifications.
Second.
You can approve now if you
Yeah,
want, no?
discussion on
Or
it,
you could.
yeah. But-
Oh,
Well, I won't vote on it, but I guess we have a first and a second, so. Proceed.
Well, this isn't an ordinance,
It's not an ordinance, it's
no,
discussion.
so it just
Oh, it's
says,
just
it's by
discussion.
motion.
My bad.
Like I said, you can have a motion if you're good with it.
327 pages trying to get to the staff.
Unbelievable.
yeah.
It's just a document that is, yeah.
Okay,
So whatever you guys feel comfortable with, if you feel comfortable approving it now, or if you wanna wait a couple of weeks and put it on again, that is totally up to you guys. It is on the agenda.
I'll get it over for
We got two motions out there.
okay,
Yeah.
all right. Call the vote. Mattson,
Yes.
Bowen,
Yes.
Ford,
it. Yes.
Barons,
Yes.
Chaz,
Yes.
and I'm a yes.
So who was the motion and second?
I did the first.
I second.
Okay, Sean
Right.
Perfect.
We get things done around here.
Sorry.
Still Arden's thunder here when he's gone. All right. Moving on, we have the resolution 2024-9, which was the general assessment policy. Information is in our packet.
So this is more assessment on if we do something like a street project.
Right.
Or we fix sidewalk or.
Right, if we were going to do a project, city project, and we were gonna assess a portion of the project to the adjoining property owners, we would follow this policy as far as what rate to charge them.
Gotcha. So if we're in the process of doing a project, when does this take place then?
So this is a resolution, so it only needs one vote. So if you guys were to vote on it tonight, basically, in order to become effective, they'd have to send it to the paper, which would go into the paper Friday, and then 20 days after publication, not referred, then it goes into effect. So
Gotcha.
essentially, it'd be 25 days before it would go into effect. And so anything, the petitions or whatnot that get turned in before it becomes effective would still be under our old rate.
Okay.
Are you looking for a motion?
Well, if you do, and we discussed this about a month ago, the only changes is what we charge for, street and sidewalks, and we, you know, we're at our previous assessment rate, we raised it $25, we were $225 a linear foot, or that's what we currently are, and this would raise it to $250 a linear foot. Now, you can make a motion to go to that $250, or if you guys wanna keep it at the $225, you can make a motion for that, and we would just stay the same.
I'll my only hesitation with doing it now would be if you could get the property owners along Eastern to sign the petition to approve that, but it could be a substantial increase for the school.
You've already had some preliminary discussions with the $225 rate, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
and so that'd be my only hesitation is if, I'm good with raising it moving forward. If there's a way to put an exception in there or an effective date,
Or, you know, or we can just table it for a couple months, a month.
What happens if we were just,
There's no like
keep
time
it the
frame that we,
same?
sorry.
oh, no, sorry.
The
Well,
city just eats more of the cost.
I think long-term, we know we need more money to maintain our streets.
Right. What, is there a way we can grandfather just that eastern portion out until, or keep them at the 225 for a certain year, or?
You know, you could put an effective date in it. Do you wanna make it effective January 1st of 2025? That could be added.
It might be a good incentive to try and get those people to move. Or anyone really in the community.
Is that
Yeah,
the
that's-
time?
They'll have to be.
We'll have to.
Even if you wait until
Yeah, ultimately-
May 1st, but I mean, you could pick that as far down the road if you wanted to.
Well, they'll have to, their fiscal year probably runs.
July 1 to
Do you know when they're considering, or is it on the agenda to be considered?
That'd be a
again?
fair point, that if it could get on their radar, it would be in their 2026 budget, right? Because they've got their 2024-25 budget already set. And so for the school specifically.
And that budget would
good
start
consideration.
That budget.
July 1st of next year, wouldn't it?
25.
They'll probably have to
Yeah,
have it
because they go
submitted
from July to,
April-ish, right?
If this was gonna be in the budget, they would know by
Right.
spring.
So May 1st, but, oh man, that's a long time. Yeah.
Or to Teresa's point, yeah, we could just table it for a month or two or 3 or whatever. Or you could just increase it because time marches on and the cheapest time to do anything is today.
True.
I mean, I
It's
don't
gonna make
personally,
my conversation with those property owners challenging.
personally, I don't see why it needs to change before the new year, because there's not gonna be a ton more development going on this year. I don't think we're missing anything by tabling it for a while, and
So, yeah, most of that won't even start until next summer, really.
yeah, we won't have any project until, city project until next year, so.
Yeah.
It's,
Yeah.
on the 12th and Oak Street, we've already done that resolution, so they're grandfathered in, and that, they're gonna be less than this anyway because of the grants, so. It won't affect that
Do we have
project.
to table it or do we just take no action on
We take no action on. Is the consensus, do we maybe wanna revisit this in December?
I'm just wondering if we can make this kind of play too, is, okay, hey, Travis can say, hey, we wanted to increase it. We're not going to kind of give you guys some time to think about it, but we're gonna talk about it February 1st or something along those lines. I mean, maybe, you know, that way it's, I don't know.
Well, they'll have to set their budget.
It should be March, April.
I think it's more,
I think.
but like I said, if they know it's going up, that might kind of sway their decision.
Yeah, that's kind of what I wondered.
Are
It's
you
the only
thinking we should
advantage to
revisit in December and not wait until late spring?
do the, say that again, I'm sorry.
So have it effective January?
I more meant table it till February 1st or.
When do they, so when do you pay this? Do you pay it when you start construction? Do you pay
No.
it when you pull up?
No, but it goes by when the petition is submitted, that's when you're locked in, because you sign the petition saying it's gonna be so much a foot.
The example Teresa gave me when I took the petition out for Eastern was, if it was signed, the project would be done in 2025. Payment, first payment wouldn't be due until October of 2026.
Yes, because they get a whole year
Yeah,
to pay it before we ever turn it into the county, so.
it's October of the following the project completion, a year later.
Yep.
From my standpoint, I mean, I feel like if you can bring it back to us in January,
That's not where I'm at.
Yeah.
the school may
Yeah.
have an idea if they're gonna proceed.
Yeah, so we don't need to take any action on this tonight, I can just slate it for agenda in January.
Second, yeah.
If that's the consensus, everyone good with that?
Sounds good.
Yep, that sounds good.
So, now, the other question, I should let you move on to the maintenance fee, I apologize. What, that road maintenance fee, is that the same diagrams, how we figure the footage that it is on the assessment, or?
So the road maintenance fee goes by whatever your front footage
It-
is.
okay, so-
We kind of use the same formula,
Gotcha.
especially like on cul-de-sacs, and there's different things, we use the same formula. They're not the same fee though.
Yeah, I knew
Yeah.
that, yeah, so I'll,
So taking no action on resolution 2024-9 and moving that to January of 2025 for consideration. And moving on then to resolution 2024-12, it's 2025 street maintenance fee. In the packet here, it lists all property owners, their footages, and the proposed increases, it looks like, and it has for comparison's sake, some
Yeah.
similar communities and what they pay.
So this resolution is actually, right now, we're at $1.50 per front footage. We had talked about it, budget, raising that to $2, and that is what's proposed with this resolution. You always have the option of keeping it at the 150 or changing it to 175. We would just come back with a different resolution, so if you're comfortable with the $2, then you can approve this resolution. If you wanna discuss doing something different, we can look at it at our next meeting.
I guess the reason why I was asked about how that's figured is because I mentioned it before, we've got all these cul-de-sacs and there just keeps becoming more and more. And I look at some of the people that are on a cul-de-sac and they're paying probably around 27% less than other folks that are just on a regular street. And that cul-de-sac requires way more work. Craig, what do we budget again for?
20,000 per hay loader.
So,
That's mainly for use on the I mean, that's gonna be the main function of that, right? So,
Dead ends.
There, when we first adopted it though, we did adopt a minimum
okay,
of footage, so 65 feet is your minimum. That's your normal lot size,
got it.
so that you have to have. So when we first adopted this, and that's built into the resolution, so if you, on a cul-de-sac, and you only got 42 feet, you automatically get that 65.
65.
Yeah, that minimum.
Yeah.
So we kind of built that in when we talked about it. Most cities, as you can tell from my report, do by the linear foot. Perkso has adopted per parcel. And how they come, and they're 180 a parcel, how you come up with what that dollar amount is, I'm not sure what the formula they use in that. I can dig into that a little bit more, but they're the only city around here that I know that does it per parcel versus the footage.
Yeah, I guess is there just anybody in a cul-de-sac, is there a multiplier that we can use there, or, because, they're roughly, everybody else, let's say they're paying 200. The cul-de-sac is, those folks on there are roughly 145. And I understand, they do have less footage, I mean, it is frontage footage. However, they're the ones that, are driving an increase as well, I guess, so.
We'd have to make an sorry to jump.
No, you're good, yeah.
We'd have to make an exception for corner lots then, so you'd be like, well, if you're a corner lot and you have two sides, you get,
We only do it off the address side.
you only do it on the address.
front side.
Okay.
Yeah,
It's good to
front
know.
side, not their second frontage.
Could we increase the minimum?
Sure we could.
How many properties, I'd have to look back, are below 65? I don't think.
It wasn't a lot of them.
There's not, Karen works with the spreadsheet all the
Yeah.
time. She puts it together,
I
so
think
she
I have a
can give you better
document
number.
that I keep track of how many.
Well, I just would hate to see if we have smaller lots all of a sudden and smaller homes where,
Most of them are 66,
unfairly
A
driving
lot,
out there.
just looking, a lot of them are
60
66
something.
feet, because like I said, that's kind of the standard, most developers, when we were first developing, and now we got quite a few larger lots, you know, that would just go with their standard to get as many lots in as they
There's
can.
a lot of non-cul-de-sac properties that would be increased.
And there's a, I mean, it's, the folks here in the central business really pay more than their fair share, if you look at it that way, because these are narrow 22-foot lots, and they all pay a minimum of $130 for 22 feet.
Yeah, I feel like that's not the
It's a
right
slippery
answer.
slope.
Or a special formula, some kind of for cul-de-sacs where there's an average? Or maybe, or they paid it, no, they already paid the minimum.
Yeah,
How many cul-de-sacs
cul-de-sacs are
do we
gonna pay
have?
that minimum of 66 feet, which is gonna be more
Just
than what their
off,
actual
yeah.
front footage
They
is.
shouldn't be paying less than everybody else is right around at 60.
Right.
Probably 12, 10 to 12.
Okay, yeah, that's kind of high. And then they're adding the, where the 38 water mains going,
There's
there's 3 more over there.
some in there, yeah.
Yeah, 2 or 3 of these. But- So I mean, that's where I'm looking at it.
You'll
too.
see them in every
I
development.
know,
They're just
I
gonna
know
keep
more.
coming.
They are, and that's where I'm like, okay, that just means more money that we're having to spend to upkeep them.
Yep.
To be, you know, let's increase that multiplier or do something there. I don't even know what the right answer is. Do all these towns that, you know, have the road maintenance fee, are we pretty much all using the same kind of multiplier or?
Yeah,
you know,
for front footage, and, yep.
Yeah,
Yeah, the ones that are doing it for the linear foot, they're all pretty much the same range. And they have minimums built into others.
City's recommendation is to approve,
I'd make a motion to approve resolution 2024-12, the street maintenance fee, raising it to $2 per linear foot.
second. Any further discussion? Call the roll. Jazz?
Yes.
Terrence?
Yes.
Horn?
no,
Bone?
No,
Mattson?
Yes.
And yes.
Craig, out of
And we do
curiosity,
review this every year too.
out of curiosity with that tractor we bought this year, can that not be used, with
It's not-
snow and stuff?
It's not heavy enough to,
To do the
really
snow
push
that
it.
gets
I mean, you
clogged
can
up
do-
there?
you can do some light stuff with it, probably downtown here or something like that,
Okay.
or some sidewalk stuff, but when you start pushing that much snow, even the payload is spit out.
Yeah, I figured.
All right, moving on, resolution 2024-13, transportation alternative program grant application to the South Dakota DOT. Notes are in our packet, so staff's recommendation is to approve.
This basically just says we're gonna approve, or we're gonna apply for the grant and allows Arden to sign the documentations with it. We are working with ISG to come up with the phased approach, the master plan like we talked about, so, they're working some of the numbers now and we'll come back at the next meeting with those for you guys to review. Probably the very first phase, like we talked about, like was recommended by the state, is to do the bike trail along Mickelson. That comes up to right close to the 600,000, which is their max, so that would probably be our best bet to start off with. That sounded like they were supportive of that, and then the next years, like I said, we'll see what the numbers come in as far as what the costs are for the rest of the sidewalks, and maybe phase 2 into phase 3, but we'll come up with that master plan, and then next couple of years, apply again for them, so. But this is just, like I said, just gives approval that we're gonna apply for the grant and allows Aaron to sign the documents. The grant is, October 1st is the deadline for it, so like I said, we can still come back next meeting, make sure we're all on board with our phasing and get our application in.
Do we have a motion to approve?
Yeah, make a motion to approve resolution 2024-13.
Second.
First and second. Any further discussion? Warren?
Is that a vote, or? Are you asking if I have?
Vote.
Playing the Arden's game now.
I thought you were asking if I have further discussion.
No, Warren.
Yes, I'm a yes.
Warren.
All right, sorry.
Mattson?
Yes.
Jazz?
Yes.
Bowen?
Yes.
Barons?
Yeah.
Wow, you were,
Wow.
it's Russian roulette right there.
No way.
All right. First reading of our ordinance 756 or 2025 appropriations.
So this would be our budget, it's gotta go through 2 readings. I've incorporated the changes that we made at our budget meeting, those are shown in blue if you look at the highlighted ones. Since we have just changed our street maintenance fee at second reading, I'll incorporate those numbers, because that'll increase our revenue there, and it'll change our expenses a little bit for the city side. So, that's just a change of a dollar amount, so I'll incorporate that into second reading. But otherwise, like I said, what's before you now reflects what we talked about at our budget meeting.
That'd roughly be a 25% increase on the maintenance fee, the total that was like
No, the
364
percentage,
or
it
something.
got an additional like 74,000?
76.
76, yeah.
Yeah, well, that's what I was just curious.
Yeah,
about.
so that'll increase it by that much, so I'll get that fee into it. As you can see on the ordinance, if you look, what we using out of reserves, that's on the second page. If you go down halfway through and then you look at government funds, the unassigned fund balance, basically that's our savings, our reserves. So you can see out of general, we will be using $455,363, which is what we talked about at our budget.
Okay, so I'm gonna make a motion to amend the budget, what is it called?
The first
25 appropriation ordinance to increase the allocation for the Hartford Fire Department from 80,000 to 90,000.
Second.
All right, we have a first and second, I'll call the vote. Or does we have some discussion?
Can I get a little context?
Sure.
Yeah, I mean, ultimately, we need to partner with them. I think there's been some communication with Byron here in the last week or so. And just, I mean, they need that extra 50 to 55,000, is it? To go towards their equipment and that, which is kind of what we talked about at the budget meeting was, you know,
Yep.
let's get in touch with him, kind of from there, so.
I think, last year also, you know, I know Arden, or we made a plea to help us cut expenses this year. We did similarly last year, and so they did not have an increase at all. The previous year, where some of the other organizations, did still get an increase.
So is that, so it was 35,000 for their like budget and then 55,000 for an equipment fund?
I believe that
Was
was
that their
right, yeah.
original request?
That was their original request, yeah, correct.
Okay, I'm
That
ready.
was the request, but at the budget meeting, basically the motion was, we're just gonna give them $80,000 for them to use
Yeah.
however they do it, and I assume that's how you want the 90, right?
Do we need to earmark that, I guess, or?
I think they requested it, I think as they requested.
Okay, so you wanna change from amended, change it from 80,000 to 90,000 as requested, so we'll have it earmark the different things, okay?
Okay.
Yeah, and then I
That's
think
good.
sometime, after this budget session, we'd like to talk about proposing a different way of calculating funding for the fire department.
further discussion? I'll call the roll. Bowen?
Yes.
Barons?
Yes.
Horn?
Yes.
Mattson?
Yes.
Jazz?
Yes.
And I'm a yes.
I make a motion to amend from 294,500 to 284,500 to the capital improvements to the Park and Rec Board on the first reading of ordinance 756-2025, so we can keep the numbers relatively the same. So essentially, taking 10,000 from there, adding that to the fire department.
Do we have a second?
Do we need to specify, or are we gonna let them decide, you know, like, cause we kinda specified where the individual pieces were gonna go.
I don't know, that's a question's above my head. I didn't get it, yeah, I don't know.
think we had a.
I'm trying to pull that.
Yeah, I
we
mean,
had a list.
like the dog park shade structure to the,
Parking lot, it was 20 for playground concrete, right? No.
so the dog park shade structure was 2,500. Refurbish the play equipment at Swenson Park, and the shade structure was 20,000. Pickleball restroom courts at the main park was 27,000. Sports complex ball field improvements was 30,000. And the parking lot was 215,000.
And of that 30,000, I think they requested 60.
Yeah, of the improvements, overall, they requested 60, and they got 30.
And then there was one thing we didn't fund at all,
Pickleball court.
The second
second.
pickleball court, yeah.
The one we got so new, so they don't need a second.
I know. Okay, well, it sounds like
What was
motion
the,
fails.
Karen, can you read that motion back, please?
Yeah, a motion was made by Sean to reduce the park board capital improvement budget allotment from 294,500 to 284,500.
Do we have a second?
No second.
Motion dies for lack of second. Any further motions?
I'll make a motion to approve first reading of ordinance number 756, the 2025 appropriations.
Second. Any further discussion?
It's approved as amended already.
Yeah, right, we amended it, passed, and then approved, yeah.
So we have a first and second, I'll call the vote. Horn?
Yes.
Jazz?
Yes.
Bowen?
No.
Barons?
Yes.
Mattson?
Yes.
And I'm a yes. All right. Moving on, we have our reports, Minnehaha County Sheriff's Deputy Report, Deputy Cardis.
Hello, everyone. Hello. The month of August was a pretty good month, I would say. Out of 30 days, we had 230 calls for service, which is a decrease from 4 from the 31 days from last month. Nothing too much to report on. We had 3 DUIs, 85 traffic complaints or traffic stops or controls or hazards in the month of August. Case reports, we had 16, and out of those case reports, we had 12 arrests out of them. So, pretty busy month for deputies out there in Hartford. So, nothing too much to report on, and I think things are still good in the neighborhood.
Any,
Like,
you want us to shoot for running that stop sign at Van Martin?
No, not yet. No, none so far. Cool. All right.
Thank you, deputies.
Thank you. Thank you.
thank you.
Moving on, we have our Chamber and Economic Development Director report for Amy Carr.
Just economic development, please.
Why does it say Chamber in there?
I'm not sure.
Doesn't get that amended.
Oh, it does.
That's okay, that's okay. Anyhow, my information is in the packet. You guys requested that when I attend a conference, I should come back and provide some input from them. I just returned from the governor's economic development deep dive from last week, and there were 3 things that I pulled from it. One was land development basics. They kind of walked you through the process more in depth, which was nice. The second thing was investing in industrial park, and that one they sent from ISG. They provided us a nice little questionnaire assessment to do when you're looking at doing an industrial park. With that was also an activity they provided to us was building your industrial park out of cards. My group did not do so well, just FYI. And then the third thing I took from it was Dakota Resources did a really nice job of facilitating how things work, how they fail, and how to bring people together to make things work. So the gathering of your community engagement. So those were the 3 major things that I took from the 2-day conference. And then the case studies were amazing, so that was fun. So, any questions?
The pond agreement, that's very, I think that really undersells how important that is. It's, that it's the one, that initially, is it a kind of a prorated cost to the property owners up there?
Mm-hmm.
It's been a process.
Yep, it's going through another review because the way that it was originally wrote will not necessarily be beneficial to all property owners because some are tax exempt and others are not. So I sent an email today to the board having them revisit the opportunity or the idea that the HIDF will have ownership of the ponds no matter what, so they maintain that tax exempt status, and that the landowners are not held to pay taxes on them too. So that is in review right now, and once that is approved, then it'll go back to the attorneys for rewrite, which is in front of me with a bunch of red marks for myself, and then get to the property owners for a signature to move forward on.
She is supplied, since, you know, the city owns property where the water tower is and will have the street that, so. She supplied us with a draft, so Tom, our attorney, reviewed that last week. Had quite a few red lines through it. That's kind of where the discussion came about is, you know, city can't ultimately be part of an ownership group that pays taxes or why not, 'cause we're tax exempt. So there are things that apply to a general, you know, property owner or, you know, commercial developer that does not apply to the city. So it's not really apples to apples. So I think that's why they're revisiting it to discuss, instead of having this entity where we're all part of an ownership group, that HADF maybe keeps ownership of it and we pay a portion, a percentage of our footage, you know, in it. So it's still in works. Like I said, we're definitely keeping the city attorney involved in it. He's going to be our guidance on that as far as the city goes.
Yeah. The HADF would own that for perpetuity.
Mm-hmm. The ponds.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
How would they propose to generate revenue to maintain them?
The landowners would pay a percentage of their square foot of their parcel that they own to help maintain them.
I see.
So it'd be
Like
kind
an
of like an
HOA.
HOA. Yeah,
Yep.
exactly. Yep,
Okay.
kind of like an HOA.
All right, we were kind of dancing around that.
Right.
That's why I said the
Yeah,
bond
yeah, I
agreement
should just say,
kinda-
it's gonna be like.
The bond
an
agreement
HOA.
kind of undersells what it really is.
Yes, and
Yes.
it's, first draft especially was a little confusing on it, but
Okay.
yeah.
Mhm.
Sure.
But I think that's what they're driving for.
Yep.
yeah.
Yep.
Okay, thank you, that's much more precise. Any other questions for Amy? Well, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Seeing no chamber director. Report is in our packet. Moving on. Let's see, there's some good meetings in there. I would encourage you to take an opportunity to visit with Wayne if you haven't. Got some interesting ideas about the chamber and not precipitation, but participation. So, moving on. City engineer report from ISG, Michael.
Good evening, everyone. On top of the TAP grant and the design center divisions that we've been working on, also continue to check on the construction progress at the Charlton Oaks project, as well as at the elementary school, just making sure they're keeping that tight and keeping that safe now that school's back in session. Moving on to project updates, water resource recovery facility. Still on track to continue installation of the sanitary trunk main near Mickelson to the main lift station at the end of the month. Still coordinating with the city to get some advance notice signs as well as updates on the website. Prior to that, I just let those residents know. Continue to work on the UV and cascade structures on the south side of the Aeromod. Ricelink anticipates those will be done towards the end of the month. They also continue to work on some miscellaneous kind of within the Aeromod structure itself, and then rough-ins for the mechanical, plumbing, and electric equipment within the operations building is still underway. Lastly, out there, they do plan to have some site piping, such as the blower piping, the reuse water line, and the sludge lines started to go in this month as well between the ops building and the Aeromod. So making good progress there. No schedule complaints or concerns with that project. Highway 38 water main, that project did last week. I will touch on that in just a minute. And then lastly, on Western Avenue, state's getting closer to bid. Still do not have a date yet, but they have requested design files from us to be included with that bid package. So once we get an updated schedule from them, we will provide that to council. So, there are no questions. We can move into the action items. So first up is pay application number 11 for the water resource recovery facility in the amount of $482,192.01. Continue, as I mentioned, they continue to work on the structure as well as mechanical rough-ins. Contingency use form has been included as well. Still above that initial 300,000 mark, although we did have a little bit of usage as discussed at the previous council meeting. Happy to answer any questions that you may have.
So our first use of any contingency funds, is that correct?
I believe there was one.
At the very beginning, we had a little bit of a deduct, but we also had some things that we added to it, so it actually increased our contingency from where we started with.
Yeah, it became larger than originally.
It became, yeah,
proposed,
exactly, overall.
But we haven't had one since then,
No.
it's been about a year.
Yeah.
Okay, that's all.
I'll make a motion to approve pay request number 11 to Ricelink Construction Group for $482,192.
Second.
Any discussion? Do you want to call the vote? Mattson?
Yes.
Jazz?
Yes.
Cohen?
Yes.
Aaron's?
Yes.
Horn?
Yes.
And I'm yes.
Fantastic. Moving on, as I mentioned, we did the Highway 38 water main project last week. We received 4 bids on the project. The recommended letter for approval is in your packet. Siteworks was the low bidder at $741,080.97. That is well below the engineer's estimate, but we did review their bid and did find it to be in order. Reached out to Siteworks and they had no concerns on schedule or plans, and we know the work that they do. So with that, we recommend the bid be awarded to Siteworks.
Remind me, what's the completion date on this?
The completion date is May 15th of next year, with an interim completion date this fall, just to get the bores in and get the water main in from Vandemark to through Highway 38.
Gotcha, so the majority of the infrastructure will go in this year still, this guy, gotcha. Okay.
When would this part for Sideworks, when would this work begin?
Probably about a month yet, because once it's awarded, then the contractors to finalize their contracts and insurance, all of that, and have to do our coordination on our end with them prior to start.
Are they legally, I guess, in terms of, because it seems like they're supposed to be doing some other stuff, but they put it off for a month or two, right? Siteworks is supposed to be doing some work, I thought they had some scheduling conflicts.
Digging through Mickelson.
Is there, but there's no, I just want to make sure the project is done on time, so there's no issue. You guys are fully confident that they're going to be able to.
Yes, there's.
It will be out of breach of contract if they.
I guess, yeah, that's what I'm asking. They have to legally complete it by a certain time.
Right, that would be-
Okay,
Correct.
They're gonna try to get the sewer in before they do
Yes.
the water, so.
Okay.
That's one thing nice having the same contractor on this project as the sewer project, because it's kind of gonna tie together at the same time, instead of having two different contractors fighting each other, you're gonna have one
Right.
group working together to
Fair
get everything
penalty
done, so.
for,
And on top of that, there's really no, compared to other roads, there's not much for street replacement. I mean, it's gravel along railroad, and then they are past the right of way along Polton Road. So they're just digging in the soil there, so they'll really just have seeping.
is there a
spray.
completion date in the contract, or don't we do that?
Yes,
Yes.
yes,
Is
there
there
is.
a penalty past the completion date?
There is, yes. Liquidated damages are specified within the contract.
I think, Sean, to your point, the date to dig through Mickelson that they punted because of other circumstances and they're not contractually obligated.
Correct, yeah,
Correct.
they are, for the water rec facility, the plant just has to be operational next summer. So if that was the last thing they did and still met that deadline, it's.
And isn't that really that's for the Maple Pass?
For the Windsor Group, yeah.
For the Windsor, it's for the Windsor Group.
So
That
purchase
dig through on
agreements
Mickelson,
for next summer sometime.
it's for the Windsor Group.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah, we wanna have
This
it
is,
up there.
this is
by
for the
next-
Windsor Group. I'm thinking of the Mickelson Road project, that site works.
The Mickelson Road's for a wastewater facility, that's bringing that sewer on down.
That is, it's not for Maple Pass though.
No,
Got it,
Yes.
that's that final.
Gravity line to.
Yeah,
or
Got it,
something.
got it. So yeah, there is contractually they're obligated, but,
Next
it's
year.
next year's. Got it, okay.
I'll make a motion to approve the low bid for Highway 38 water loop project to site works.
Second?
Any further discussion? Call the vote. Horn?
Yes.
Bowen?
Yes.
Mattson?
Yes.
Jazz? Yes. Ferns?
Bid buys. Bid buys, that's some of the other bids coming for projects, and then we'll,
It's always nice when we're the highest, feels good. But lastly is the construction administration contract for that project, just to provide construction arbitration services, administration staking, drawing review for the install of that water main, and ensure that they are installing that per the plans and specifications. And that contract is in the amount of $51,750 estimated at time and materials.
Why, is that just part of that, is that part of the same piece? I'm just having a hard time finding it in the packet, is all I'm wondering.
Page 302.
Yep.
Yes.
I just haven't quite got far enough yet.
Yeah, it's down there.
Rolling capital.
Okay, here we go.
So we can take that 51,750 plus the bid item, and that's gonna be our project cost, basically, total.
Yeah, and that still keeps us below what we budgeted
Yeah.
for, so it was nice to have the low bid, so
Yeah,
we're definitely
Look at
within
us.
budget.
It'll probably be what,
saving money for that budget we're over, huh?
Yeah,
Yeah. Can save a
it'll
little.
probably put us in what, 800,000 roughly, and then saving 200,000 from us.
Yeah, I mean, there'll be a little bit of testing services,
Miscellaneous.
miscellaneous things, professional fees there, but,
Make a motion to approve the construction administration contract with ISG for the Highway 38 water loop.
Second.
Question about, probably not a lot of materials from your T&M bid.
Not too many, yeah, it'll be stakes for them, hopefully they don't wreck them, so,
Got it. Oh, stakes, not steaks.
yeah.
well, I might get a
AK.
steak out of it.
Wouldn't
Sometimes
last.
Craig shows up to the side of the lawn.
Got it, okay, that sounds good. Motion and a second. Call the vote. Ferns?
Yes.
Jazz?
Yes.
Horn?
Yes.
Bowen?
Yes.
And Mattson?
Yes.
And thank you, Michael. Anything further?
That's all I have.
All right.
Thank you.
All right, moving on. Craig's report, Public Works Superintendent Craig Wagner.
Just a couple of highlights or changes. The payloader, the fluid samples came back clear with that, so we don't have any major wear inside of anything. We did find a drive shaft spline that has got some play in it, so we're getting that fixed and hope that takes care of the noise in that new payloader. Going down to parks, our fence supplies are supposedly got here today, we're unpacking stuff, we're picking up tomorrow, if that goes, we should have fenced up in a couple days. We'll be getting ready to get it surfaced, so hopefully within a few weeks it'll be playable. Sports complex, the block layers they got here today, started putting block down, so they've got the first row down, and they're moving ahead, so we're cruising with that now too, so. That's all I really got my report. I did put in my report, little bit about some stop sign to make them more noticeable, if we think we need to go any further with some of these stop signs, or if we're good the way they are.
I drove by there yesterday up at Van Mark but I was expecting it, but it seemed, I stopped. I stopped twice, cause I came back around on part two.
Yeah, I think that initial, rollout, just, I'm glad I'm not glad we pulled them down, but I think they're
Yeah.
much more noticeable now, and so I was gonna say maybe we put some lights on them. I haven't sat there BSing with my neighbor since they went up on Friday, but, if and when I do that, I'll just kinda make a mental note of how many people are running them, cause it was,
Significant.
yeah, it was. It
Interesting.
was almost 100% initially, so.
Yeah. Well, in my report, they're the flashing lights, that's UCTD standard. I mean, if you put them up, they've gotta be activated all the time. You can't have a motion activator or anything like that. And they blink about 50 to 60 times a minute. They light up about 2,000 feet if people don't see them from, so they would be annoying in town.
Whose front window will it shine in?
One of the guys that
Not
wanted,
yours.
one of the guys that wanted a stop sign.
So, yep, signage is all up now. Like I said, we've done a little bit more there than we've done anywhere in the past with signing for flagging. And flagging is actually according to the standard, so, to get them noticed, you leave them up for about a year.
Appears to be working, so. And I thought it was a little silly to flag the existing stop signs, but necessary for whatever reason. It seemed like people were expecting the other traffic to stop and.
Yeah, well, you flag them because there's a change to it. It went from a regular stop to an always stop.
Yeah.
So since there was a significant change, you mark it, so it's noticed.
Makes sense, thank you.
So since we're on the topic of signs though, I had mentioned it before, but those pedestrian signs that, the button that flashes,
Mhm.
it just has like a pentagon with a person walking across, I think, is the sign. Do we need to have like stop and flashing on there at all, or do you think that would help? Like, I go up there sometimes and I'll see people that they're not sure whether they should stop or they're not sure if they continue. You know what I mean?
It's more of a caution.
Yeah.
I mean, technically it is just a caution, like a yellow.
On the four-way stop intersection?
No, with the, on 38,
Yeah.
across Danimark to,
I think the confusion comes because as a driver, you stop for a pedestrian in a crosswalk, right? And so those are flashing, but there's no pedestrian in a crosswalk, they're just standing there. Is that, I don't have the specs or, the thing in front of me, but I mean, I'm going way back here to like, when I was 14 years old.
We
drivers
can't
had-
put anything up on those streets, can we?
On
Third
the highway?
would have to be approved by DOT, but I mean, what they've got up is what is called for the standards, yeah.
Gotcha,
Yep.
yeah. No, I remember we mentioned it briefly.
And I did,
Just so.
I think
pulled
there's
it.
gonna be a lot of places where that would be out off of Mickelson across 38 is someday.
Yeah,
be a great
eventually
place for a
DOT will
flashing
be
light.
looking into it some. DOT's a tough one to get slow traffic going on.
Just to even lower the speed limits,
It's bad still.
we've asked them, out that way and up at the sports complex, and they want their data, there's so many cars or crash data, or they don't make changes.
I did take the traffic counters down when we started putting signs up and download the information. As soon as we had everything flagged and back up, I put them back up again. So we'll get data now for a couple weeks here that'll show what's kind of, if it changed anything or if the speed's still the same. When I did them last time, I just kind of glanced at the traffic and during a normal weekday, in 1 hour, it averaged about 8 vehicles an hour. So we'll see if it changes. Some people will reroute, I mean, they won't go down 12 times, so. But
Craig, when do you think you'll have, some numbers for the pool repairs?
Neil got that, actually, I was gonna talk about that a little bit too. He got it excavated out, he's down to the piping. Piping is old, he found a crack in one of them, one of the pressure lines. We're gonna figure out what it's gonna take to replumb all that. I would say without their labor, we're gonna be between 10 to 12,000 right now at this time, maybe a little bit more, depends on fittings.
Without the city staff's labor, that's just materials?
That's would be materials, yeah, and hired somebody to put the concrete back in, because that's
Yeah.
significant pour,
Okay,
so.
and that's, is that, did they use PVC then, or is that some other product?
It's all some of it's cast iron, some maybe a little bit of ductile iron even there, but it's nothing's PVC or,
What year is that pool?
I think it's 76, 72, 76, something like that. Yeah, it was in the early to mid 70s, so.
50 years old.
And Neil did say he found a splice that was down there, so sometime back in the 80s, they must have dug it up and fixed something, because there's a Fernco on the return line.
Also, sure.
And I know we've never touched it in
Right.
30 years, so.
Well, that's the artery of the pool, and I know mine needed some work last year, so I can understand.
Yep, so if everything goes good, we should have it replumbed here in a few weeks, and we'll know exactly what it's gonna cost, and then we're gonna know that going down the road, we're gonna have to just maybe pick a side or cut another chunk of concrete out for length and replumb that, and if we're gonna keep going, just either piece it or just say next year we're gonna have at it, or for the following year, budget time, whatever, we'll just say let's tear it out and replumb it also.
So you tear the whole deck off and replumb all the way around?
Once on the sides, we'll just go, probably get by with about 4 foot, maybe 6 foot
Sure,
of cutting out, because everything should follow right in line.
yeah.
This portion here goes back to the pump house, so we have to tear all that out to
Like a tease or something, or,
yeah, it all tees together and comes back together.
Yeah. Interesting. Thank you.
So, yeah, we should be knowing more here next week.
Okay. Anything else for Craig?
Thanks, Craig. Yep.
All right, moving on. Karen, your report, please.
Yep, my report's in the packet.
Thank you.
I have included the agenda for the conference. And the deadline is September 15th, so if anyone's interested in attending, let me know and I'll get you registered. Otherwise, I don't really have anything to add.
What is registration for it?
I haven't registered anyone yet. Normally it's like $100.
Hard to say, I was gonna say 100, 150 or something like that.
150.
I was trying to remember too when that came up. Yeah. You can probably look in your municipal book, I think the agenda's in there and the registration. Just got on your desk.
Yeah, if you can just take in a few things, it's actually a really good
And
conference.
it's nice that it's here in Sioux Falls.
Well, that's
this
what I was
year.
gonna say, if, but I don't wanna spend a lot of money and then not go for, you know, it's.
I will be there, but, my employer is paying for me to go, so just a heads up. So if you wanna hang out, give me a call.
We're not trying to avoid you.
Don't forget yoga at the zoo on 7 AM on Thursday.
Yeah. I'll be there.
It's a gentle flow yoga session, it's all right, with the animals.
All right, thank you, Karen. City administrator report, Teresa?
Just a couple little updates. The 6th and Munn Street project, we did get everything completed. Craig's got the last, we had a couple of concrete panels to fix. Guys have got that all done. So, ISG, will figure out that, and I've got an actual preliminary one as far as the retainage and our work put into it. It'll come before you at the next meeting to review that, but, otherwise, she gave you an update on all the projects. In your packet, I did put a little information about IM 28, just Arden asked me to place it in there, just for your reference. The municipal league is pushing cities to pass a resolution, basically opposing IM 28, just because we feel that, and they feel that it will reduce a city's sales tax income if it does pass. No action on it, it's just for your reference there. There is also in the municipal league book that you got tonight on there, there is a little article in there that'll give you a little bit more information. I'm sure we'll be discussing it further as we go down the line. Arden, did mention he's trying to put together a little forum on all the initiative members and get somebody pro and con there to kind of educate the public a little bit further on that. I'm not sure where he's really in that process, if that's gonna work out or not, but like I said, just give you a little more information on that. I think he also gave you an update on the transit system. We had one of the representatives come into City Hall and kind of give us an update. They have a new driver, it's actually a temporary driver. They're looking for a permanent one for this area, but they've put in a new driver. They've increased the days of the transit service, where you used to only do a couple days in town and then 1 day to Sioux Falls. They're actually driving every day, whether you want to go to Sioux Falls or you want to come here. So they're increasing the amount of time they're, taking trips. So that has increased our ridership. We went kind of like 12 a month to 60. With that though, they've also increased our area. They've kind of spanned out to Crooks and Colton. So you can kind of take that into consideration. One way or the other, it's good that we're getting ridership, because it'll keep it going, even with the few riders, you'd hate to lose that service, because the ones that do ride it are the ones that need it. So it's nice to hear that update that they are increasing the ridership there. We have a new van on the way that we have committed to as far as that. I have no ETA on that. Again, I keep asking them. It's all in the state's hands of when they're gonna roll it out, and it's budgeted for this year, it's supposed to be this year, so I'm still hoping it is this year, so we'll see. Regionalization, Arden and I did attend another meeting just last Wednesday, with CCOG was there. Todd Meyer Henry was there. He was kind of first time we had met directly with him, kind of talking to us about the legalities of how we could set up an entity to run this plant. There are several ways you can do it. He says, basically we as a group got to figure out how we want to set it up, and then, we'll figure out how to do it. The biggest takeaway this time from the meeting is that these other communities like Crooks, Colton, Lyons, they've got to go back and crunch some numbers and basically commit, are they in or are they out? Because that's going to affect the numbers for everybody else, because it's all a proportion of, how much do you allocate and how much do you pay, how much is your buy-in. So that was kind of the task at hand. Todd Meyer Henry, CCOG kind of hammered it to the other communities and their engineers, go crunch your numbers and either commit to this or not. We hate to see the 23 million wasted, in grant money. If they don't come on board, they told them, think long-term. You may not need it next 3 years, next 5 years, but what do you need in 10, 20 years? So they've got to crunch those numbers. So I don't expect another meeting, probably for another month or so, just because it's going to take time to gather that data, and we'll go from there. And the other thing, I'm hoping next meeting I'll come to you with some numbers on the AV. I'm waiting for one vendor that last 2 months have not got me anything on a bid, but I told them I want it by next meeting.
You're far too kind. Do you need any electrical bids?
Electrical bids?
Next year.
Yeah, so, that's about all I have.
Thanks, Teresa. I did find the conference.
Oh, did you?
Are we considered full conference fee?
Yeah.
We're a member?
Yes.
So it's $125 for the whole thing, but then you can do $100 for 2 days, or you can do $65 for 1 day. But they all say, all these fees go up after September 15th.
Yeah, so we'll want to get pre-registered if you do wanna go for a day or two or the whole thing.
T-shirts, $15.
It's all wear matching t-shirts.
I think the HADF could help us with that.
I think you all were given one, actually.
I said, I think you all have.
But they may be different colors.
Well, you can purchase some for $20, all the same color.
All right, thank you. Anything further, Teresa?
Nope.
Thank you. All right, no old business. Moving on to new business. Founding family, Hartford Hometown Christmas, Lisa Helbig. You're up.
I'm up. And we're just asking for the release of the 2024 funds. And anybody that wants to volunteer to jump on the committee. No experience required.
Shoot, we should have moved this up. I apologize for making it sit there. I wasn't making the connection as to why you were here.
I did some emails, so multitasking.
There you go.
Make a motion to approve the release of Hartford Hometown Christmas 2024 budget.
Second.
Anything crazy different going on this year, or?
Nothing crazy, might be a few tweaks on some location things, but
You're taking something back, I remember, mentioned during the budget.
the what?
You're taking ownership back of something.
Of the vendor
Yeah.
show,
that's
yeah,
right,
we're
yeah.
gonna take that back to just help. Expenses have gone up, there, we never quite know, the businesses have always been very supportive,
Yeah.
but it does make us a little bit nervous when they're paying about 20,000 of it, so it feels, yeah. So just to try to help.
What's that add to your volunteer goal requirement? I gotta believe it's gonna take more people to help facilitate that. Or not?
Well, the two people that used to do it for us up until the last few years, agreed to come back.
Okay,
And so there are two vendors that are actually, so they're not officially part of our committee, but they volunteered to do this, and they've done an awesome job.
great.
And it hasn't gone as smoothly since they've not been doing it, so.
You've got in the high school, some of the different clubs or organizations involved too, is that,
Yeah, yeah,
does that work well, or?
it works very well.
Yeah.
So most of the events are manned that day by, most of it is the youth organizations, and then we give donations to them for doing it, so. We do all the work leading up to it, and then the day of, those organizations take over and work the event, so, yeah.
Thank you. We got a motion and a second? Any further discussion? Call the vote. Mattson?
Yes.
Nolan?
Yes.
Horn?
Yes.
Chaz?
Yes.
Barris?
Yeah.
I'm a yes as well. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks for your support.
But-
We'll see you in December.
Yeah.
All right, review approve the payout number 3 to Alliance Construction, $75,394.43.
Can I'm really sorry, Travis.
Yeah.
Did we talk at all about the resolution on the item 28?
It's just,
We need to vote on that, or Mayor Jones will
It's just for your
sign it?
reference, he just wanted in the packet for, this is what the league is proposing. I don't know if he'll bring it at the next meeting forward, but there's no action on it. so we
Sorry
can put
about
it on the
that, I
agenda.
should have been quicker.
Yeah.
No, it's included for reference and discussion.
Yeah.
No, no, we'll certainly discuss.
sure Sean can think of something.
I'm gonna keep my mouth shut.
If you have something to say, I'll give you an opportunity.
No, I'll keep my mouth shut until until we have both sides representing a political issue. I mean, that's.
This is gonna be back on, I was just assuming we'd see this on the agenda in the future.
I'm assuming,
Yeah.
like I said, I don't know if he'll want to put it on the next agenda or whatnot. For now, he just wanted it for reference.
Okay. All
Sorry, I didn't mean to bring up trauma.
right. No,
That's easy. That's the funny part.
Alright. So, yes, we still, the payout number 3 for Alliance, this is for the Tolton Oaks project.
It is crazy on this one. Just,
No, this is basically for the work they've done, the prior month. Basically, water and sewer mains are in, they're starting storm sewer. our last construction meeting, and really hasn't run into any issues or problems so far, or no changes. So,
Motion to approve pay request number 3 to Alliance Construction for $75,394.43.
Second.
Question, we have Craig, or not Craig, Michael, do we have somebody from ISG checking, kind of overseeing things on occasion as well?
Yeah, I've been out there at least once a week, so I observed the sanitary sewer tests and the
They've
water
been doing
tests,
the test,
everything's
yeah.
passing, there have been no issues, so.
IDG is doing the same thing then?
Yes,
too?
every time I've been out there, IDG has been out there as
They've
well.
got, their inspector surveyor guy, Matt,
Matt, yeah.
he's out there every day and on Saturdays when they're there working on Saturdays, so.
yeah, he's awesome.
All right. Further discussion? Mattson?
Yes.
Bowen?
Yes.
Horn?
Yes.
Jazz?
Yes.
Barons? And I'm a yes. All right, 2023 audit report to review and approve. It's in the packet. Yeah, same firm as last year, correct, with the new
Yep.
name? Same firm as the previous 9 years.
Yes, yeah, it used to be Qualm, Berglund and Post, they just changed name, and I think they combined with another firm, so it's the same firm that's been doing it for quite a few years. They also do our annual report, so they're familiar with our financials. They do that one point of the year, and then they come back and do the actual audit to us, and this is the audit report for last year, 2023.
Are there other options for that work?
There are a few other options. There are only a few firms that do municipalities, because there's I think there's different laws and regulations for it. So I think there's probably about 5 firms out there that may do it. The state does have a list that we can look at. Like I said, it's kind of nice to stay with the same firm, just because when you switch firms, they've got to figure out how you do things. It's a longer process. I know when we switched to these guys, it took a couple of years to kind of
I'm
get everything
very
figured out.
familiar with that pain. I just think that it ought to be considered. Sometimes I think auditors can get too familiar.
And that is something we can
There's
look at
value
going
in having
forward.
someone.
We usually have them submit a contract at the end of the year, but if you want to look at bids from other firms, you certainly can.
I don't think now's the right time. I mean, it's not on the agenda, but I think it'd be a good time to at least talk about it.
All right. Any further discussion? Motion to approve?
Make a motion to approve the 2023 audit report.
Second.
Motion and a second, any further discussion? Bowen?
Yes.
Barons?
Yes.
Jazz?
Yes.
Mattson?
Yes.
Horn?
Yes.
And I'm a yes. We need oral appointments of our city attorney and city engineer for the 2024-2025 calendar year.
You'll probably have
Well,
to
it's from,
table
it's
this
from
one.
not the calendar year, but it's from May, or it's from September here.
It's basically from September to next September. Since Arden isn't around, I said we'll
We're gonna move on.
just table that, or no action yet.
No action on that. Brings us to, we need to go in executive for legal personnel. Economic
I do
development.
not, unless you think of something.
Council? Seeing no further business, entertain a motion to adjourn. So moved.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
I'm in favor.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.